Hello and welcome to NESN.com. We have a special interview today with former Major League Soccer United States national team goalkeeper, a veteran of 3 World Cups, a U.S. national team legend. He's now a coach, commentator on Sirius XM, a U.S. Soccer Hall of Famer. We have Tony Meola. Hi, Tony. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Mark. It's good to chat with you.
First off, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Allstate in the Chicago area?
Yeah, so I've been with Allstate for the last couple of years, about 4 or 5 years now. Last night, as we do in many markets around the country, we go into the community and we essentially pick a team, an organization in the local community, and we go in. We refurbish the fields. We bring in new goals, new bleachers, new equipment for the organization. Essentially, we give them a new start. And we're trying to create a safe and fun environment for players in the community, and it's just Allstate's way of giving back to the community. And for me, for a guy who's no longer playing but was able to take so much from the game, this is an opportunity to give back to the game.
Now, I want to, you talked about a new start. I want to talk about your start. You came out of the Kearny, New Jersey area, which is an absolute mecca and a hotbed of soccer in the United States. I want you to talk about your experiences there, playing with players like John Harkes and Ramos. You guys were the bedrock of the national team back in the 90s.
Yeah, I can't say enough about those two guys. And to think that 3 of us that were one day kicking a ball against a wall in the back of a schoolyard and going to each other's games on the weekend, because we didn't all start playing on the same team in Kearny because we were all different ages, and then eventually playing together at the youth level. And of course, I remind those 2 guys I'm the youngest out of all of us, so I was able to follow them to the national team, and they set a really good example for young players and everyone in our town. That was the goal, was to get to the national team, and I was really fortunate to be able to do it. So it's a story that, geez, I couldn't have written any better. And when you tell people today that don't know about it, they still don't know the history, and it really is amazing when you sit back and think about it.
Now, you also had an influence who passed away just a few months ago, Tony Tucci. I wanted to ask how he affected your life and your career.
Well, we used to joke we're the 2 Tonys in soccer. We joked for years, and I was inducted in 2012 into the Hall of Fame with Tony Tucci. We went in the Hall of Fame the same year. An outstanding family, just an incredible family man, as you probably got to know over the last couple of weeks, seeing all the videos, and he's going to be missed. There's no other way to put it. I'm still, like most people, in a little bit of shock, but I can tell you nothing but just incredible memories of look, soccer, X's and O's, and all of that stuff is great, but just from a personal standpoint, just a really good guy we lost, and a guy that probably didn't get enough credit while he was alive for the impact that he had on the game, and did so much for so many people.
At the very start of your professional career, after you left Virginia, you had short spells in England with Watford and Brighton, which are 2 teams that are now in the Premier League this year. What stands out about your time over there in England, and how did it help or hinder your career going forward?
Well, it didn't hinder at all. What stood out was the Monday visits every day to the embassy to try and renew my work permit for another week, to hope that I could play another week there. And unfortunately, in the end, I wasn't able to do it, so I left and I went to Toulouse in France. But the memories were great, and what stood out was you're in a country that's just soccer crazed. And I was at least hoping over the years to take a little bit of that passion and bring it back here to the U.S. And hopefully we did that for at least a stretch of time.
Now, when you came back, I'm sorry I have to bring this up, but you came back at the start of Major League Soccer in 1996 when the curse of curricula was born. And us here in New England, we still remember that well. I want you to talk about the earliest days in MLS, back in the days of shootouts and wild hairstyles and things like that. How fond are your memories of those times?
Well, trying to forget the hairstyles, if that's possible. But yeah, that it was sort of the wild, wild west. No one, we were kind of figuring it out as we went, to be completely honest, and to see where it's grown to today. You got to give so many people credit back then for sticking with it. You know, the Lamar Hunts, the Phil Anschutz, the guys like that owned at 1.6 teams and 3 teams. Just to keep the league alive. And I had the honor of playing for Lamar Hunt and his family in Kansas City for 8 years, and I wish he were alive today to see what this game has become, because he loved the game so much. But yeah, there were some dark days where there were times where we were told we don't know if the league's going to last another month, and to a lot of people's credit, they kept it going, and now obviously it's gotten to a different level today.
And in those dark days, I want to talk about the 2000 season in Kansas City, arguably the greatest ever season for a goalkeeper in MLS history. You won MLS Cup, won MVP, goalkeeper of the year. Why were you so good that particular year?
Well, you talk about dark days. I go back, I just rewind 6 months before that, 8 months before that, when I unfortunately did my ACL and was out. And those were dark days, because so many people had written me off and said, he's never going to play again. And I thought, well, hell, I'm 29 years old. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to come back from this. And I was just determined to come back as strong as I had ever been, and it worked out. And Bob Gansler in Kansas City, who was my World Cup coach in 1990, and then my coach in Kansas City a couple of years later, said, I had him on the phone. To tell you a quick story, I had him on the phone and told him I didn't want to go back to Kansas City. I thought I was jinxed there. I got hurt after a week of being in Kansas City. Wow. And he said, can you give me one more year? And that's what he said to me. And he said, I will trade you back to New York. I promise you. I'll get you back to the East Coast. And 5 minutes after we got into the celebration, Lamar Hunt we won the obviously the MLS Cup that year. We got into the restaurant where all the families were, and Lamar Hunt had a party, and he looked at me, he said, okay, I made a promise, and I'm going to get you back to New York. And I looked at him, I said, is there any chance you can keep me here in Kansas City? I'd love it here. And I ended up staying, I guess, was 5 more years after that.
Now, I want to change courses now. The U.S. national team just won the Gold Cup under Bruce Arena, who's now, he's been in charge for about 7-8 months. He was your former college coach and also your national team coach. You've known Bruce for many, many years. How would you describe the job he's done so far in the second time around, in his second tenure as national team coach?
Yeah, it's not been easy for national team coaches to come to a team the second time. There hasn't been a great deal of success, and Bruce has done a great job. I think first and foremost, bringing back a winning mentality where guys want to be in camp, they want to go to the national team, they look forward to going to the national team, and they compete. And I don't think from Bruce you're going to get any mystery about who we are. We're an athletic team. We try and defend well. We get out on the break. We have some talented players up top that can make things happen, but he doesn't try and change what is an American sort of some American staples for us to think we're going to be some other country. We're not Brazil, we're not Germany, we're not Italy, we're not any of those countries. And I think Bruce is of the mindset, as am I, and as are a lot of people, that let's just be a better version of ourselves. And that's guys that are winners and guys that go out in the field. And I think, I don't know what the number is, but I think it's 13 or 14 games now he hasn't lost. So first and foremost, develop a winning attitude, a winning mentality, because that's what it's going to take. 4 more games in qualifying starting in September. And And then from there, Bruce can build and put the pieces together, get to the World Cup first. That's his number one mission, and then put the pieces together to get a team that hopefully will look a lot like that 2002 team did.
Right, and that was Bruce Arena's most successful team on the world stage, and also the United States' most successful in the modern era. He's in charge until the 2018 World Cup. What happens after them? It's not an interim tag, but somebody else may come along, or maybe he stays. Do you have any insight as to what the USA will do or should do?
No inside, obviously, but we all under the impression Bruce won't be the national team coach after 2018. Sorry, I'm going to guess it's a young American coach that'll have 4 years to put his stamp on the game, whether it's Tab Ramos or Peter Vermes or Jesse Marsh or I'm missing a few guys, but it's going to be cut of that mold, guys that have been successful in the league. Look, no foreign coach has ever won the World Cup in a country, and I still think we have really, really talented young guys. We have to give them a chance to coach the national team someday. And my guess, and again, no inside, and it's what I would like to see, I think, more than anything, is that some young American coach gets an opportunity. And for me, somebody that has been invested in the national team forever, someone that knows what it's like to have worn the jersey, that still feels the pride in wearing the national team jersey, and can really articulate that to players 24 hours a day when they're in there. So I'm hoping that's the direction it goes. But who knows?
You yourself are a coach. You have all your coaching certifications at the highest level, and you had a short stint in Jacksonville with in the NASL last season. I want you to talk about your time there, maybe your favorite memory, biggest regret, and what the level of play is like in the lower divisions for people that don't watch too much soccer below MLS in this country.
Yeah, so the memory was coaching players that wanted to play and be there every day. That's the most fond memory, and I still, till this day, I get text messages all the time when they do well and thanking me for still bringing them into Jacksonville. The regret is not getting an opportunity to fulfill our 2-year mission, and that was the plan for 2 years, to build something. As far as the level of play, I think we've seen some pretty good level. Of course, you got Miami in the quarterfinals of the Open Cup, making a run at teams. You've got players that can play. Are they national team level players? I'm not quite sure. But are there guys there that can play Major League Soccer? There's no doubt in my mind there are. But sometimes the situation is better for them at that particular club than it is at an MLS club, whether it's playing time, whether it's salary, whether it's family commitment, location, all of that stuff is a factor. So, but there are talented players, there's no doubt.
And just one last final thing. You are in Chicago for the MLS AllStar Game, which is against Real Madrid Wednesday night. What should we be looking forward to in that particular game? MLS's best against the reigning 2-time Champions League winners.
When I say all the time, as a goalkeeper, this is the worst game for goalkeepers to be part of. I would just think it's a fun, competitive game where most guys get 45 minutes in, maybe 60 minutes at most, and you go out and compete against some of the best players in the world. There's always an opportunity to make a mark someplace, and no better way for these guys to do it than against Real Madrid. So it should be a fun one. I would guess it's an open one. My guess we're going to see 4 or 5 goals in the game like we do in most All-Star games, and hopefully MLS can show well. I'm sure they will.
Well, Tony, I want to thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for your time, and good luck out in Chicago with all the work with Allstate and watching the All-Star Game.
Thanks so much, Brad. I appreciate it, Marcus.
Okay, thank you.